to the next thing to do, which you'll see. In addition, explicit instruction, practice, relevant real-world scenarios. This really ties into our research-based and active learning and best practices for student learning. The types of courses we're talking about you see here in library form, and I'd like to draw your attention to the upper left, which states that the Florida Department of Education has named us a VIP provider for the 2021 school year across 6 through 12, and this is extremely important. A very rigorous, criteria we overcame to achieve this. The types of courses we offer fall into core courses, middle school and high school electives and CTE, college and career ready courses, world languages, and also AP. Now, this doesn't show you the actual course names, but I am prepared to show you a bit of that next couple slides so you can see what some of those courses are actually called. Now, this is just a fraction of each of these libraries. I took a piece of mathematics, a piece of language arts, a piece of science, just to fit on the slide for us today. I'd like to call your attention to the beginning of that mathematics and language arts list, the Accelerate courses, which are new in response to some of that learning loss that students are experiencing to COVID-19.
Is the screen supposed to be changing?
Yes, I am pushing my screen forward, yes, but is it not changing on your end?
It is not.
That is unfortunate. It's changing for me.
Can you stop your share and try again?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I was kind of curious. I was like, okay, he keeps acting like...
Okay, let's try that one more time then.
I didn't mean to be rude and cut you off, but I didn't want you to go through the whole thing.
No, thank you, thank you. The visuals are supporting what I'm saying, so that's really important. Okay, so I'm on a slide that says at school and at home. Do you see that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, now I'm going to go forward and make sure we're transitioning together. How about now?
Nope. Okay, now we're good.
Oh, you can see it now.
Courseware libraries.
Courseware libraries, okay, and now course catalog.
Got it.
Okay, so just a couple second lag there. Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. So, course catalog here. Those accelerated courses at the top of mathematics and English language arts, those were built in response to student learning loss to help bridge the gap from last course to the next course. So we've got students that just need kind of a slow walk into that new subject. We've got courses ready to go for something like that. And I'm transitioning to a slide now that says social studies, showing Florida-aligned social studies courses you can view there. In addition to the core courses, we have a humongous CTE and career and technical education library that should be showing up right now. This is just a snippet of that library that we've got over 105 courses in that library, but I just want to pull a few up to show that these courses are aligned. Okay. Now, as students work through these courses, what is their experience like? What kind of confidence we as educators have in this process and their learning experience? So the first thing I want to just quickly mention is test integrity. You should be seeing a screen now that says confidence everywhere learning occurs, and we certainly want to have that. These are some of the ways we help ensure that the work that students are doing that are turning in are actually what they're doing. So we have a team that's dedicated to these sort of four-pronged approach here. Item randomization, that's an easy one. Randomized items on tests. Upper right-hand corner, exit log, where the student exits an assessment that they might be working on, potentially to look at answers, something like that. We will walk that test. We have the option to set that test to walk and repeat. And perhaps something not so common are these monthly web sweeps. We actually have a team at Adventum that goes online and looks for answers to our own stuff. And when we find those answers, videos, or text, we issue takedown orders to those websites. In addition to having this sort of confidence, What about the confidence that every learner that logs into our system is going to be able to use their background, their culture, their perspective to add to their learning experience? Now, we have a tradition of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and on this page here, I just want to call out some of our recent work and sort of where we're headed as well. So summer 2020, we launched a more diverse English 10 course and introduced a more diverse character set to some of our animated images and our still images as well. This winter, we're having our spoken sequence reviewed by external diversity experts. And next summer, we're going to again take a look at those characters that we use in images, not only animation, but the people that appear throughout the content in different roles, like if we're showing a doctor or a scientist, we'll be representing everyone. And everybody that logged in here identify with what they're seeing here, so I want to mention some of that work too. And then finally, my last slide, I believe, really supports how we engage students once they get online. Once they're online, how do we keep them there, make them feel comfortable, not overwhelmed? Well, it's how we introduce that content. It's how we introduce learning objectives, how we assess, how we allow access, and how easy our system is to use. And so Quality Matters is a third-party organization that uses this rubric to assess online learning providers. And as you can see there on the right-hand side, Edmentum has 144 courses that have passed this really extensive and rigorous rubric. Can you all still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, David, the echo has disappeared. Thank you. At least it has for me. I hope it has for everyone else.
Yes, it did. And that's why I was worried. So as you do your due diligence, which I'm sure you are, you might consider Quality Matters and taking a look. I pulled this from their website today. And we can see that, I'm not sure if you heard this, but at the top of the list, 144 courses in our library that have passed these rubric standards as well. And so what I want to do now is show us some of this live and take a look at what it looks like to be a student. Now, I'm not going to go through every single feature in this feature set, just the main highlights. Again, what I want to show you is if I'm a student logging in, what is my experience like? How am I supported through this process? So, I'm logged in as a student named Jonathan here, a high school student. Along the top are places where I can manage my own learning. That's where I'd go look at my own progress reports, where I'd go look at notes that I've taken, or maybe I send a message to my teacher. On the right-hand side are where I receive alerts from school leaders, perhaps school updates, policy updates, or where I can receive additional help. Now, over on the left here, I have a list of my active assignments, which are my courses, or they also could be just assignments I've been given. You'll see the first course on the list is Algebra 1. So when I first log in, it's very clear where my work is. I know I at least have to go here, and it's very clear where I'm at. I can see my grades in the upper right-hand corner of this rectangle. In the lower right-hand corner, I can see that I'm overdue, so there's no question as to what my performance right now looks like in this course. And so I might be thinking as a student, well, what do I do next? Well, when I come into this course, we're not just pushing that student directly into an activity, we're actually taking them to a dynamic calendaring tool. So when Jonathan logs in and clicks on a course, we're going to tell him exactly what he should be doing today. If I know today's date, I know exactly what I need to do to keep good standing. So if today was January 22nd, I know that I would have to be doing this pretest today. Another way this dynamic calendaring tool is useful is for students that might fall behind a little bit, a day or two, or maybe I just haven't had the time to get that laptop from my sister, and I'm behind now. Well, when I log in, all I have to do is come to Past Target. If I click on Past Target, I'm told exactly what I need to do to catch back up and get back to that good standing. Additionally, if I'm setting up for tutoring or I'm really focused on where I can improve academically, where are those topics that I'm struggling with? Well, if I come to Not Mastered over here, I can see exactly what I am struggling with. My teacher, my instructor can also take a look at this too as we plan our intervention sessions. So when Jonathan logs in, he knows what he should be working on. He knows his performance in that subject or in that course, and he also knows exactly what his next step should be as well. We don't have time to go through these variety of activities, but there are a variety from discussions to explicit instruction lessons to unit activities that take me through real-world problems and allow me to respond freely using equation editors and tables and word processors. I'm going to jump into what I would just call a regular lesson. Just a sort of run-of-the-mill lesson in that unit has three major parts: the tutorial, where I would receive my initial instruction, a practice activity that's graded by the computer, and then a mastery quiz. So I'm going to jump into this lesson here, and now we're going to find out if we've got audio as well. So I'm going to click play on this introduction, and I'd love if someone told me if they can hear my audio. Hopefully you can.
Yeah.
No, Dave, no audio.
I think that'll be okay for now. I'll be able to tell you where there is audio. We don't have much time left, and I'm not that familiar with this collaboration tool. I'm not sure where I can share my audio from. So obviously there was some intro music there, very encouraging music, and essentially everything you see on the screen is being read to me, not by a computerized voice. This is done by voiceover. So I was told the title of this tutorial. It's reading to me the objective as well. Showing me the tutorial contents. And now I'm moving forward with reading support here. So it's actually reading warm-up and reading to me the entire situation unless I pause it, which I actually just did anyway, and I usually do. So that's a built-in support, that automatic audio. So here what we see is already something for me to do, the very first part of this lesson. This is a part of our research-based constructivism. I need to use my last lesson, linear relationships, and apply it to understanding this nonlinear relationship tutorial by using this drawing tool and drawing that real-world scenario up top. We want students to start thinking about the topic they've yet to be introduced to by considering what they learned before and realizing how it connects. So I have to use this drawing tool before I move forward. I wouldn't be able to move forward if I didn't use it. Then I check it with a sample answer down below. There's a quick video here. I know that we don't have audio, but I can just play a bit of it for you. I think that you'll kind of get the gist after a few seconds. So of course we have closed caption here. We're dealing with nonlinear relationships and how it's connected to a real world scenario, and that is creating and launching an app and tracking the success of that app. And it's a very short video, just 1 minute and 30 seconds long. After I watched this video, I would be moving forward. It's still reading to me, but now with some additional supports. So exponentially is a big word, built-in dictionary. Need to know the definition, I just click on it. If I want to look up a word that's not in blue, I can just use the dictionary tool over here and look up any word I like. Now, I mentioned before, I think during the PowerPoint, that we have built-in student supports to keep pointing them in the right direction. Well, right now I haven't taken any notes, but it's probably good if I did. And so the text is actually telling the student, hey, go open the notebook tool. It looks like this. Okay, well that's right over here. And I can go and take these notes. Those notes are automatically saved. Now at this point, again, I might feel a bit overwhelmed as to what type of notes I should be taking. And if that's the case, we have built-in guided notes for all of our core courses. Okay, so these guided notes can be typed right into. I can print them out as well and do them by hand. So just a number of additional supports as I'm working through this, because I'm likely doing this independently to keep me moving forward and to keep me learning about successful habits of an online learner and really just a learner in general. Okay, just go to one more slide here. And I want to show you that I have to interact with this slide to receive the instruction. And so what you've seen here, a dynamic tool, a relevant video, pushing me to use my note-taking tool and the support of guided notes. Additionally, a translator tool that translates to 19 different languages and a number of other tools on the left-hand side there ensure that I, as an online learner, perhaps likely working independently, am finding my way along here, okay? So the content is engaging, it's an active learning experience, and it's meant to be that way to draw as many learners in as possible and help them find success. Now, with just a couple more sort of minutes here, and I'm not sure if we'll have time for questions at the end, I did want to just quickly mention the sort of same thing, but on the educator side. It's clear that logging in as a student is very easy, it's very user-friendly, and it tells me exactly sort of what to do and where to go and provide supports along the way. Well, educators need that too. If I have to click 20 times just to get data on a student, that's really cumbersome. I'm not likely to be too excited to log back in to that software to do that anymore. And so I just wanted to show you, actually, this would be the administrator view. It looks very much like the teacher view, okay? Meaning that we give administrators just as quick access to student data at the classroom level as we do those teachers, right? We want to put that principal right back in that classroom as quickly as he wants to get there, just with a click or two. And so you'll see when I'm logged in here, I do have that high-level data. If I want to see if my students are logging in, and what the top courses are, what kind of progress my students are making overall, I have that on my snapshot screen. But if I want to dig a little bit deeper to see how a particular student is doing in a particular course, it's really, really easy. If I come to my students view and I saw maybe Maria's name cross my desk in an email or something and I want to know how she's doing, I can come to Manage Students, search her name, and within a click, I know what courses she's in. I may not have known that 1 minute ago, right? I can see what her pacing looks like, I can see her grades, I can even see a little bit about her progress here, that she has something that might need to be graded, and that rock is telling me she maybe didn't perform too well in a recent assessment. From here, I can also communicate with students, like send a quick message to Marie and see what's going on, and maybe set up a one-on-one. Under Manage Courses, I can do much the same. I can click a course, and from that course, click right into a student that's in that course. So very, very quickly, I can affect and impact those students that I'm serving. The final thing I'll show you here also ties into ease of use. So, administering an online program can be a bit daunting. And the last thing we want to do is, we want educators to be able to get the data they want as easy as possible. I think that's clear here with just the way we've sort of set up this this user experience. But what about reports, right? If I want gradebook reports, or I want to see what does module progress look like over entire classrooms? How easy can I get to data like that? I'm not going to take you to a reporting section and bore us all looking at 16 reports tonight, but the good thing is I'm not doing that because I don't have to. In fact, educators, teachers, and administrators can set up automatic reports. They just have to do it one time. So all they've got to do is come in and create their report bundles. I just click New Report. I choose what types of reports I want to see. Yes, I like the gradebook report, or yes, I like this sort of progress report. I fill in who's going to receive it. It could be me. It could be a counselor. It could even be the student's contacts, the parents or guardians. And then I set the frequency. I'd like these people or me to receive this every Monday, or every other Friday. I set it up, I forget about it. As time goes on, I receive those reports to my inbox. So that's about all that I had prepared to show us today. I'm really hoping that I was able to convey what courseware is, how we draw users in, whether they be learners or educators, and once they're in, how we set up the experience to ensure success for everyone.
Thank you, David. I'm going to turn it over to some questions from the board.
Thank you, David.
Fantastic.
That was great, David. Does anyone have any questions about specifically the program? Mr. Simmerdine?
Yes, sir. I'd like to know, you mentioned Algebra 1. Algebra 1 has an EOC. What is your pass rate on an EOC? You've probably been doing this program for a while. Have you done that study?
Laura, Paul, do we have data we can speak to in terms of pass rate on the or EOC algebra?
Sorry, I didn't understand it.
Okay.
It was like one second to talk, but we're not hearing you.
Hey, we're having a lot of feedback issues. If we could just mute to the person that is speaking, I believe it may help some.
Laura, you can go ahead and scroll around. We might be having a bit of feedback issues. So, Anna, do you have any data on the Word EOC pass rate or data that we can grab?
I don't right now, but I can send it to you.
Were you all able to hear Anna's response? I know that Laura Brown has a response for us. It sounds like she's trying to give it, but we can't get her audio to come through. So if perhaps you would allow us to follow up with that information, we'd be most grateful.
That's a good idea, David. If you have other questions, I'll be glad to take them. And then we'll reach out.
Yes, well, they mentioned core tutoring. So how does the child access core tutoring? So he's going along and he has a problem. Is they waiting core tutoring? What is that and how do the children access that?
Yes, so our tutoring service is available through a company called FEB Tutors. And in fact, they would literally log into FEB Tutors and access a tutor in mathematics, language arts, science, or social studies. So it's just offered over our core content. And subject matter experts in those subjects are available 24 hours a day, and they're also available to actually schedule time like Friday at 10 a.m. in the morning or something like that as well. So they would log in and do that tutoring virtually through an interactive whiteboard, and chat session and audio session. So it's online tutoring on demand.
Is there a link to that, or do they have to go into a different website? How do they get there?
I thought it was on the ball.
Yeah, so that would be a different website. It would be through FEB Tutors.
Oh, I thought that was a link on the bar that you were showing us.
No, there's not an embedded link right in the student experience to access the tutoring.
So they got to log out and log into that, and then how does the tutoring know exactly where they are?
Right, great question. So on the FEV tutor side, they're able to see that student progress as well, but also keep in mind that the student can share a screen, the student can also communicate to the tutor what they're needing help with as well. So the information of where that student's progress is passed along to that tutor on the back end. But of course, student entering the tutoring, I might just have a question on, how to solve an equation, or what theme is in language arts or something like that. And so I would just connect with that tutor how I might connect with a tutor I showed up, to work with in a tutoring lab or something.
So I'm not a real tech savvy guy. So you're talking about sharing screens and this and that. As a real, not tech savvy person, I'm going to be lost, I think, in that. Trying to not know how to share screens and see two things at one time. Are they going to be able to actually pull the equation up and show me step by step? Yeah, so the tutor would be able to. So the tutor would, so in an interactive whiteboard space, I'm able to pull up an interactive whiteboard, right, and walk you through sort of solving an equation. So as a tutor, I'd be able to share my experience with that student online, and that student would be able to watch what I'm doing, as we're communicating perhaps by chat or voice, right? Okay, all right, that's, so they'll be able to actually have the equation on the board and show them this is step 1, 2, 3, right down the line. Right, exactly.
Some of what teachers are doing now.
Right. Okay.
You made a statement, I can go to my teacher, my instructor. You said that. How does the child access my teacher, my instructor?
So, I'm not too clear on the question. Are you essentially asking how the student would contact their teacher of record, whoever's in charge of that course?
Say their teacher of record. If somebody, you're telling them, the teacher's always monitoring how he's doing, the teacher can look and see how he's progressing. So that student has a relationship with that teacher, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so how does the student, if the student has a question, he doesn't decide he's going to go to your tutoring group, your core tutoring, because that's pretty difficult. How does he access his teacher? If he has a simple question, hey, I'm not quite sure about this, can he access his teacher?
Sure. So the question of teacher of record is somewhat twofold. There's actually two ways that it can be done. I'm not sure which way you all might proceed with. So this platform can be administered by the school's teachers, where the school's teachers are actually the teacher of record, and they're monitoring those students, obviously remotely, right? So I'm logging in and looking at my class. The second way that this could happen would be Florida State certified teachers provided by Admentum, in which case we would provide teachers of record. Either way, I can access my teacher through built-in messaging in the system, so I can send basically an email to that instructor. If it were our teacher, Admentum's teacher, I would have that teacher's email address and contact information. I would be able to set up one-on-one meetings or intervention sessions with that teacher. Our teachers also have the ability to do things like virtual whiteboard tutoring and things like that. If it were your teachers that were the teacher of record, that would be, I would imagine those students and that teacher would have a relationship as well, and that would allow them to connect outside of just the internal messaging as well. So built in the system, I've got messaging, and outside of that internal messaging, I would need to have, contact information to my teacher of record, whether it be an Admentum teacher or my school's teacher. And then I would connect with them in that way to receive additional help.
But there is a built-in messenger to the teacher that on the bar, if a child has a question, that he can quickly type and wait for the teacher to respond. Is that my understanding?
Through the messaging system. If the teacher is online, then yes. If the teacher is currently online, then yes, I could send a message to the teacher, and we can communicate that way. If the teacher's not online, I could use my other contact information to set up a one-on-one session.
Because our students are on the Google Class format as well, and so they can directly email said teacher of record as well as through the...
Well, that's what I wanted to know.
So really, there's two ways they could.
So then I'd like you to compare Plato and recovery to the program we're talking about today.
Sure. So the credit recovery rollout is actually on the same platform. We're able to provide students with first-time credit experiences and also credit recovery experiences on this same platform. So what you've seen here is literally the same website, the same platform. It's just credit recovery is just one type of course.
And Plato?
That's correct. So we're still looking at Plato, we're still looking at the same platform. It's just in one instance, the student is making up credit, and in the other instance, the students can also work on a course for the very first time in the same place.
Hey, David, it's Laura Brown. I hate to interrupt, but I've finally been able to get the audio through my telephone. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Crystal clear.
So I wanted to answer the question around the EOC. That was what I was trying to answer a little earlier, unless someone has answered it since the question was asked, and I couldn't. Is it still a genuine question, David?
Yes.
So have you done any study?
Okay, perfect.
Your Algebra
Yes.
1 is an EOC course. You must have been
Yes,
teaching
sir.
it for a while. What is your results in the passing of the EOCs for the students that have taken this course?
Right, so when we look at our EOC data across the state, it requires a district to be willing to share that data with us because it's not our data, right? We can look at our data on the admin side, but we cannot take data from the district. They have to be willing to share that with us. And we would love to be a part of a study that a district would want to participate in. Because courseware historically in the state of Florida has been used as a credit recovery program, it's not the way that the course has typically been implemented. What we've seen happen with COVID, and you guys are living this in the district today, is that we've moved online courseware from being a credit recovery program to being a first-time credit program, simply because the pandemic, right, required that to happen. I can say we would be very excited this year, because as you know, we didn't have DOC last year. We'd be very excited this year to partner with your district, with any district, right, who would want to share that EOC data with us so we could create that linking study. In the interim, what has happened at the State Department level is they have a list of approved programs, they call it their VIP list, that you have to pass muster, right, around things like EOC analyses by the state. And then Centum is an approved VIP provider on that State Department of Education listing. Did you guys follow that answer?
Well, it did, except I was a little surprised that you haven't pursued a study with some other district to sort of brag on the level of your ability for children to pass EOC after your program. I mean, I would think that you might have established that contact already.
We have data, so we actually were in the process of doing that this past year when COVID hit. With a couple of our Florida districts, but because the EOCs were not administered, again, didn't have that data. So, you know, we have lots of effectiveness research that we can provide to you beyond just the EOC data, you know, around the design principles and other stories that have been done in Florida, you know, really across the country. But, you know, again, from an initial credit perspective, we would love to engage in a study like that with your district because of those, long-term users of us at the credit recovery level, but not, as a first-time credit program.
I got another question. Going back to your Plato, and you're saying it's on the same platform. Is it the same work? Because a lot of students at our district have been using the recovery in Plato for quite a while. And it appears that their level of academic attainment is quite limited. And in some cases, they're able to do a year Spanish course in 4 days. And that is through your program. And I'm looking that hopefully we can improve on that.
Absolutely. So from what you've seen today, yes, it is the same thing, quote unquote, but the learner experience would be a little bit different. So in a credit recovery course, typically a student will take a short pretest, and that pretest would exempt that student from certain parts of the unit. So you take this test, and if I can show a certain achievement level over these certain topics, those topics will basically be removed from my course. So credit recovery, that's typically how schools run credit recovery. For first-time credit, that pretest does not exist there, so they don't have the option to exempt out. You might be seeing students completing courses so fast because that pretest has removed a lot of content from their view, and now they have very limited work that they actually have to achieve because they showed mastery over the rest of it. So in this case, that pretest would not exist, and they'd have to go through every single activity. They would not have the opportunity to be exempt from anything unless a teacher actually or an administrator exempted them from the content themselves.
I think that's a little disappointing. Well, it really didn't answer the question as how a student who is not bilingual can pass a year of Spanish in 4 days. I know that they weren't bilingual before, yet they were able to do that somehow through their programming. They were able to access it and finish a program in a very few days.
Yeah, so the only way that I know that a course could be shortened is through that pre-testing. And so I know that you all implement credit recovery, and that's how credit recovery works through this system. So step one is possible the course became a bit shorter as well. Outside of that, it would kind of raises an eyebrow as to how a student could get through the course content so quickly. I'm not sure what that student's grades were like. I'm not sure if he failed everything or if he passed everything, but if he passed everything, I guess.
During the summer, they don't use credit recovery. They're able to take other classes. One of the classes that they take is a government class. They can take an economics class through you. They can take a Spanish course during the summer, and it is not a recovery credit class. It's classes that have been offered through Plato during the summers here for a while now, and students are able to attain these really quick credits.
Well, and David, would you please clarify that for us? Because I believe what I heard was that Anna say earlier to that point was that this was totally a credit recovery program until COVID come into play, and then they lengthened it to a first-time user platform. So in the past, it's only been used for credit recovery for us. So the students in the summertime, they may have been challenging it as a summer program, but it was actually a credit recovery course, so they shouldn't have been there in that instance. Would be my understanding. David, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Somewhat. So the platform has always hosted first-time credit and credit recovery courses. It sounds to me that your implementation or the implementation in the district has just been credit recovery, so those students do have the option to test out of content. And that can make a course shorter. Now, typically it doesn't make it that short. So a course out of the box may be about 80 hours, and typically a student that takes pre-test maybe can get it down to 60 to 70 hours. It sounds like an outlier, which does occur.
Thank you.
And David, just, this is the right answer. From my experience, this may not be specific to Hendry County, but from my experience, we've often seen districts only assign content for standards that students were deficient in. So if there was only one standard or two standards, for example, you can see where that would significantly reduce the number of lessons that a student would go through. But and so the student is that, in my experience, the ability to create, to complete a course, even a credit recovery course, where it would be a condensed amount of material, that would be a pretty significant outlier based on what we see in usage reports, et cetera.
You don't have further questions? If not, we can move on. Okay. I think we're finished. David and everyone from Admin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you folks very much.
Thank you so much. And if other questions arise outside of the call, please don't hesitate to forward them to us.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as we move forward, if you will, would everyone please look at the single page sheet that we have? And what I would like to do is to kind of stop and walk us through that to help bring our line of thinking and the approach that we use to this, and hopefully that will help us all understand a little bit more about where we are and where we need to go. So to give you a little bit of recap, 2 weeks ago today, the state offered Executive Order 07, which is telling us that we have to come up with a spring learning plan and we have to provide options for these children. A week ago, at our board meeting on Tuesday, about 2 hours before the meeting, there were some clarifications that were passed out that talked about our ability to have a little more flexibility than what we had originally been told we had. And so once again, I apologize for the quickness of how we brought it to y'all last time, but it was absolutely thrust upon us about the same way we brought it to y'all. So having said that, our team, mainly sitting in this room, we've been working feverishly for the last week coming up with options so that we can provide an online option, a platform for students to be able to learn and give them a viable way that they can move their education piece forward. And as well as we have to submit a state plan to the state of Florida Department of Education tomorrow. So this sort of outline, this is the outline, one-page fact sheet of what we've done. The other piece of it, I believe, was emailed to everyone. It's about a 13-page piece that takes and very, very detailed delineates what's going on. And what I want to point out was we really have two different things going on here, and I want to make sure that everyone understands. Number one, what the state is asking us for is our plan. What's our plan going to be? And as of this point right now, what we're asking for is that our plan be that on the secondary level, middle school and high school only, we offer basically, it's going to wind up being 3 options, but you're either going to attend brick and mortar school or you're going to take classes on this said online platform. Option C would be that it's going to be a bit of a hybrid of both, depending on said students and said teachers' availability. Does that make sense? So number one, we're asking for the permission to pretty much remove the asynchronous learning from the regular teacher from the school system. We know that has been a catastrophic failure. It's had horrible results and has put an enormous amount of undue stress and burden upon our teachers. We feel like that has to happen. Having said that, what we found out is it doesn't really matter which online platform you look at. There are several different ones out there. This is one that we, number one, have experience with, and number two, that other districts around us are using. And using it with good results, I might add. So having said that, any of the platforms that we look at or could look at, we feel like they're going to have exactly the same concerns that Mr. Sammerdyke has brought forward. He's not incorrect in what he's thinking. He's absolutely correct and spot on. We don't want this to be something the students can log in 2 and 3 days from now, they're done with English, Spanish, and chemistry, and they're ready to move on. We want it to be a robust program. We want it to be something that challenges and provides education. Having said that, we believe at minimum is as adequate out there as any program that we can possibly get our hands on today. So, the two things that we're seeking permission for, then, to wrap it up, is that you approve our overall plan for the direction we want to go forward for the innovative learning that we are offering, plan A, B, and then the hybrid being C. And then we're asking for it to be at minimum as a result there. On this one-page paper, again, I'll back up and go over that with you just so you'll know. This is what we plan to put out as our information to our parents, students, teachers, and everyone involved. First and foremost, on the top left, we believe that the education is best obtained by the students sitting in the classroom. As we talk to students and parents, we are all county-wide, we are encouraging them to attend school. Now, mind you, we're focused on the ones that are doing poorly academically at home. Okay? So as we talk to those, we're basically saying you need to be in school. And we're beating the desk and we're doing everything we can. We do know that we're asking them to sign commitment letters, and even knowing that, we still have a large percentage of them that are saying, no, my child's staying home. But they're failing. I realize they're failing. My child's staying home. They're not attending anything. I realize that my child's staying home. And there's just no way that we are able to reach some of these parents to get them to buy in on that. For the health of their children, they're the parents, and we don't have the ability or the sword today to change that. On the bottom left, using ed minimum, for anyone who falls below a 2.0 GPA, at the beginning of the third 9 weeks, we're going to make them come in, sit with that school administrator and the teacher of that record, and again, say, look, now we're at the lab, we're beginning the last 9 weeks, now you've had 3 9 weeks of very, very poor performance. You need to be in school. And again, attempt to drag them back into the schoolhouse. We don't know what the school day is going to look like then. We don't know what this horrible pandemic is going to look like then. We hope that everything is in a better place and school will become the best option. So that's where we are on that. On the top and the middle and high school students who do not return to traditional school will be enrolled in minimum learning. And we are working on the administration of that through said schools. We know that some schools have higher numbers and higher counts than others. We provided some of that information earlier today through an email through you as well. We do have a set amount of teachers who are not in school because of health issues themselves. And so we feel that we have the adequate staffing in order to provide the supervision of this program based on what we have on campus as well as what we have off campus. Exactly how that looks, some of these plans and details we're still fleshing out on a day-by-day basis. Things are changing in front of us on a day-by-day basis. We have some teachers that can now come back to work. We have some that may need to leave work, depending on health reasons, quarantines, COVID itself, and so we're doing the best we can to flesh that out and make that happen. Students using the ed minimum may continue to learn synchronously for certain courses. That is not offered. They have a pretty robust, wide offering there, but I'll give you a prime example. Either in an AP course or certain CTE courses that they did not have, we have teachers that have said to us, they have come to us and said, I don't want to lose these students. I want these students in my class. I will continue to do this. So for those specialized courses, we are going to allow those teachers who want to teach and volunteer to teach to continue teaching the online synchronous method that they have been teaching. Most of those students earn that teacher a bonus or a spiff in pay depending on the test, EOCs, or industry certification, or the things that they pass and take. The bottom bullet says that elementary students will continue to learn on the current model that we are using. Although not ideal, we were not at all pleased with any of the models that we've seen on the elementary school side. The elementary curriculum still had core standards that they were aligned to. They had a lot of project-based learning where the students had to do a lot of hands-on things. And we were worried that if they weren't getting the proper supports at home from parents or that human that was there, that it would not be successful. So we felt like today that those elementary schools were in the best situation to continue servicing those students. I believe on the top right, Mr. Simmernack brings up some very relevant points about the rigor. And it can be underscored. But the only thing we can say today is that we believe that out of all the programs out there, that is as rigorous and going to provide as good of education to these students as that we can find with regards to an online platform. One of the things that we have spent an enormous amount of time talking about is the IEP and 504 plans on the bottom right. And so, and again, if you'll notice on the numbers that we have provided for you, they've delineated those students that at this point in time have indicated they're going to stay on the option 2 and how much support that they would need. We believe that's very achievable. And we believe that we'll have no trouble with teachers scheduling the meetings with the students. In some cases, if they need to come in or do them online, on meeting, over the phone, we believe that the ESE department can meet that challenge very, very easily as we move forward. We also intend to have a paraprofessional that does the exact monitoring on a daily basis, watching students if they're falling behind, if they're not doing well, if they can't log in, not logging in, so that the students have that extra layer of nudge, support, encouragement, move it into the parents or whatever that we have to do. So this, again, is a one-page simplified version of a 13-page plan that the team has worked very hard upon to prepare that we need to send, that we will send off to the state tomorrow, one way or the other. Having said that, I think that I've tried to bring what the whole purpose was, is to bring comfort level to you that what we are doing is trying to offer an online option for those parents who will not and will refuse to send their kid to school. Is it perfect? It is not. Is it going to be changing? I'm absolutely sure that we will have to change and mold with this as we go forward. But we believe it to be the best option that we have today for our secondary students. Do you have any questions of me?
I do. You mentioned AP and CTE courses, and the teachers wanted to still, by and far, teachers still wanted to hang with that and keep with that, the synchronous learning model. Will Adminum offer honors classes, or will those be able, honors and AP are different.
Yep.
Will they offer honors courses, or will those students who've already shown that they are higher achievers, academic achievers, will they have to be pushed into Adminum for those, or do those teachers want to?
Yeah, if it's going to be on a teacher-by-teacher basis, we're not going to force any teacher to teach that way, but you've hit the nail on the head. It's the honors courses, it's the high-achieving students. Most of the teachers are taking and don't mind doing that, and they're not struggling with those kids. They want to get on and learn. So we believe that the most of those higher level courses will continue with those teachers as we know them. If for some reason teacher can't, won't, or is not able, then we will have to find other means, and they will just have to go to what's available within Adminum, is the short answer.
How many students would we assign to a teacher on record? And would that teacher of record, would they be, would it be by course, or would it be the teacher of record is monitoring and administering the entire gamut of what these kids are doing?
Right.
And if you try to reach out to that teacher of record and say, hey, I'm a math teacher, but you're looking for a little ELA support.
Right. Yeah. So the way that we most likely will have it set up is very similar to how we do some of our adult programs now, where you have a said teacher, and that teacher is responsible for that class. Most of the teachers in most of these areas will be able to help and provide the assistance that is needed with the English and math and things like that. And if not, then they would have to seek outside help for specified areas. But what has to happen, I'm sorry?
Through the tutoring.
Through the tutoring or through other layers of help within the school system itself. But it's sort of front-loaded, if you will. When said students come in at the very beginning, we're going to have almost individually, you got to look student by student and say, this student needs algebra and civics and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of work up front in getting that taken care of. Once you get that in, the students will have several questions once they get up and running about where do I click, how do I get this. But our students are they're very tech savvy. They will pick this up a lot faster than what you and I will pick it up. And then once the teacher, the para, and the staff gets them in there, from that point forward, it'll be just fielding the typical questions. I need some help in solving this algebra problem and things like that. For the majority of the students.
Well, how many students would be assigned to each teacher?
So again, we don't have a set number of how we're going to do that. We're going to have to look at, number one, what we have available on faculty. And as you look across, you can tell, like a good example would be Clewiston High School. They're going to need a good handful, aren't they?
Yes.
And so, number one, again, we have set amount of teachers that are home, that are either teaching remotely or not able to teach for various reasons. So this is right up their alley. This is perfect for them to be able to do that. So we're going to have to drop back and take another deep dive our team about what teachers we have available on campus, what teachers we have available off campus, and then we will go through and do the math. I don't want to give you a number of 20 to 1 or 30 to 1 and be a glaring mistake there.
But
And I'm afraid at
I
this
just
point
want
now, that's
an
what we're doing.
idea of, because I went back and watched the prior meeting, because making sure I heard what I thought I heard. And, you know, I felt like in that, the prior meeting was said, well, we'll assign a teacher to these students. And, you know, you could see, I mean, they'd have to dig deep at like LaBelle Middle School. But one teacher could not do 308.
No. So I think LaBelle Middle and LaBelle High is pretty solid where I believe if I was a teacher, I could manage that. But LaBelle, I mean, Close Middle and Close High, they're going to have help. That's where we're going to have the bulk of our teachers and attention there.
Any chance of reaching out to some of those students at Lewiston High School again? It seems like a big discrepancy between 308 and 57.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, maybe we need a little more
So the short answer,
ombudsman coming in and.
the short answer is absolutely, and we have to at this point in time because now, even though we've reached out to them and gotten this answer, now we'll have to reach back out to them again and say, okay, this is the platform, here's what you have to do. We think that once they've been home for a while, we'll have some come back anyway. Once they see this program, they may want to come back and, you know, so these are our numbers today. By no means are these accurate numbers. So we know that they will continue to change. But absolutely, we will reach out to every one of the students in LaBelle and Clifton and we'll have to get another point of contact.
Have we done any research to see these 308, these 70, and then the 19? I mean, there's, you're grazing on 400 students there. If you go across the board, Lewiston High School alone.
No, those are,
passing rates.
no, I'm sorry. The 308, well,
And those are the
Yeah.
SC and the 504s are the ones that are.
right, within that 308.
Oh, out of those,
That's
you got
correct.
70 of those.
Yes,
Oh,
that's correct.
I thought you were adding across the board.
No.
Okay, so, I mean, what is their passing rate on those? Are those people already struggling? Have we looked
Yeah.
at that?
They're struggling now. That's the whole point of what we're doing. We're trying to find another layer for students that are struggling. That's exactly what we're doing. Most of them were unsuccessful. They're very minimal engagement in what we were doing asynchronously. So that is the whole point.
I don't understand why we have so many Lewiston High and middle versus LaBelle
Right.
High and middle. That's, our parents need to wake up.
I totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
Wake up.
And we were reaching out. And all along, our principals and our staff are reaching out to these parents and saying, look, here's where we are. You've got to get engaged here. And we're having well, you see the results.
You just gotta get educated, I mean.
Yeah, we're afraid that it'll have an enormous legacy effect. Now, they've gone through nearly a whole school year.
I agree.
Since March. Now, how's that going to affect their performance in the years to come? Because now they're practically 12 months behind.
They're behind.
So, yeah, so we know that. We know very clearly that that's the case.
So have we started looking at formulating some kind of a plan for these students that we know are falling behind right now? Or what are we looking at
And part of Emergency Order 07 is that we provide tutoring services, after school tutorings and different things. And that's part of what we're doing anyway, but then now we're going to just continue to do that in greater layers, encourage them to come. If we can get them back in school, get them, and provide all the layers accentuated that we would normally provide.
Yeah, we'll have to supervise those layers.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yep.
How does the ESC services, the support services, and instruction, how does that align with this? Who is going to be delivering that, and how does that happen?
Would you like Dr. Stanley to answer? She's-
I was waiting. Do you
Go
want me to
ahead.
answer? It's going to be similar to the way it is right now. We have our push-in support teachers that will still be reaching out to these kids as they are now. The therapy, OT, PT, speech, all of that, we have worked out with parents, whether they come into like this building. We've got therapy going on every day in this building. We've got therapy going on at the LaBelle Outreach Center, at the schools. that parents still are bringing them in as long as it's a central location. We're talking about doing similar things and putting them on time schedules where they have a time, say with the high school, to meet this class or these students, or we're gonna try to work out a time better to suit maybe this type of learning. But they're still going to be doing that. They're just going to be scheduling periods on campus and then periods virtually.
How will small groups work, like MTSS, RTI? How are those, going to work with the kids on Edminum?
It's going to be scheduled. It's going to have to be scheduled. They're going to have to be pulled for time periods. It's been difficult because some kids don't show up, even current. So it's been difficult for us to get them even to participate in the small groups because it's extra time for them, and the students we're struggling to get the students to participate.
The non-engagement is there, again, is what's plaguing us.
Right, we're calling, we're visiting, we're going to houses, we're knocking on doors, we're getting the doors slammed in our faces sometimes, but we're trying just about everything.
So what do we do when we have, I realize that this is a little more catered towards the less engaged, struggling students. So what do? We offer them the Edminum platform and they don't engage it. Where does the district go from there? Do we try to double down on truancy or?
I think so, yes, and I did actually put that in there because our truancy officers are banging on doors now. They're going to be doing double. Our schools even, like LaBelle Middle School, was taking a group out every week with 3 or 4 adults, admin, and they were going once a week, door to door, banging on doors, saying, we would really like your student back, or we need your student to engage. So I plan to do that as much as possible. We really are. We are. And we've gotten kids back like that too, because for me, it's the constant. We're going to constantly reach out. We're not going away, and eventually, maybe we'll bug you enough that you bring your child back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Is this program going to be? I'm sorry, I'm chatting Kathy right now. Is this program going to be conducive to our? Rural broadband is brutal. Even in our municipalities, we struggle to keep the internet on. And in particularly our most rural students, is this going to be a program that, I know that we had the hotspots that we give kids and they have limited data on them, but is that going to be conducive with that, with those connectivity challenges?
Yeah, so one thing that I would point out as well, and I'll let Jason elaborate on the one piece about how our hotspots will better serve this than what it does the asynchronous learning piece, but y'all pick up where David was saying that, and I'm not sure the correct word, but it goes, it is usable on every electronic device, and so it can be your computer, laptop, iPad, or even your phone. And so that, in many ways, then would make it more accessible from that standpoint. Now, I'll ask Mr. Adams to talk about the fact that how the live streaming of the class is using an enormous amount of the hotspot and the difference here.
So utilizing a program, like a web-based program like Edmentum, in lieu of live streaming video conferencing as far as data consumption is concerned, is vastly different. So there's nothing more consumptive than a live stream video as far as data is concerned. So that's where the data limitations really come into effect with those hotspots, is that what you have is 4G limitations. You have 10 gigabytes associated with that. Well, just 4 hours of live streaming will consume that 4G. Whereas the hotspot then throttles down to 3G speeds, which will facilitate viewing of recorded videos, and then in Gmail, type documents, online assessments. assessments, and every other aspect of the Edmonton platform, and the 3G is unlimited. So you can reserve those video conferencing hours that are consumed for those students at the hotspots, that have hotspots, to support that interaction with their teachers, with their ESE specialists to push in, consider like things that are necessary for those conferences with those specific students, and then have an unlimited amount of bandwidth for actual lesson completion.
Thank you. I wanted to also ask about the hotspots that we gave out. And I think a lot of folks think that that was like a Hendry County purchase, but if you would elaborate on that grant and through T-Mobile.
Yes, the hotspots that Hendry County provides is through the Project 10 Million, which is a partnership through the state of Florida and T-Mobile. And we were able to acquire 1,000 hotspots, and we distribute those, and those are assigned per student. And it's the data limitations that are attributed to those hotspots are the same for any participant, that means any school district in the state of Florida that has signed up to participate in the 10 million project. Well, those hotspots come with those data limits, and so therefore any student that has a hotspot comes with the same limitations and data limitations that we pass out with our hotspots for our students.
Thank you.
Nope. We're separating the questions, two questions.
So, okay, you ready for me to make a formal recommendation?
I believe so.
Okay, then,
One second. Ms. Nelson or Mr. Brown, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
I want to wave at that screen, but I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend that the board approves the Spring Learning Innovative Plan for Hendry County School District as presented, with Edmonton being the online educational platform.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The recommendation passes unanimously.
Thank you. And thank you for the team for their hard work as well.
Yes, I want to thank Superintendent Swindle and thank the staff for the information they put together and getting everybody together to hash this conversation out and providing a higher level of comfort to the board. And that is much appreciated. I know that was additional extra work, and so thank you for that. Do we have any board member business over here? Rev? Ms. Nelson, y'all have anything for board member?
No,
business? Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, seeing that there is no board member business, this meeting is adjourned.